No, you are not getting a tattoo of a skull and crossbones, especially not all over your chest.
But I want
No. No. And we need to get this review done. We're going to get this review done now.
Whatever.
Do the review.
I'm Luke.
And I'm a dad. And you're watching DSG, or Dad, Son, in a Game. Today on Dad, Son, in a Game, we're going to take a look at pirate dice.
Give me wait to do this because I'm kind of about to cough.
Cough. Alright, so essentially what this game is it's a programmed movement game where you're controlling a pirate ship. So first let's look at the game boards here, the map tiles. These show the wide open ocean seas where we are going to be doing our navigation and exploring. And there's a number of these tiles that come in the box, not just these few that I'm showing you here. There's also some expansions and other things. And I'm going to leave that one there so we can talk about it a little bit here in a minute. But these are the three tiles we're using for this game. Now I think you can arrange your tiles about any way you'd like. But I'm going to go with this just L shape here. I think there's other variants that are included in the book. The instruction book, but this L shape is what I've played a few times, and I really kind of like it because you have to make that turn, and it's not too long that way. Now, each player also gets these die. These die are really kind of cool primitive die. They're cubes of wood that are kind of painted on, and I've played this game, I don't know, maybe 10 times or so, and they're not nicking up or chipping at all. I was concerned about that, but so far they're doing really well holding up, so that's not a huge concern. But there's 5 movement die, and there's 1 die that it represents a ship. So this is going to be a little mock round of blue versus yellow. And what happens is you have your player mat. Each of you have a player mat, and there's essentially there's bells here. Bells represent time periods in nautical terms. So there's 4 periods of time that we're going to do, and there's a helm and there's an anchor, and then there's this like kind of cutout spot that kind of reminds me of like Clash of Cultures or something. Is that the game I'm thinking of? Anyway, there's a game with these cutouts in there as well. But the cutouts are kind of nice because your die sitting there and they don't go anywhere. But it's not kind of nice because we'll get to that rule here in a minute. So when you roll your die, the way how you do this is it's almost like Farkle meets Robo Rally. You roll and you see what kind of movements you have here. And I don't know how well you can see this, but that's a right turn. That's moving straight. Another right turn. A left turn with this little like star type thing there, another left turn with a star type thing on it. There's also barrels of rum or whatever that is, I guess. Straight movements with a fire, a U-turn, a 3 movement ahead, and I think there's a 2 movement ahead on one of these die anyway. Not real critical for what we're doing here to go through all the movements, but what you're going to do is roll your die. And I'm the yellow player, so I want to start off by going ahead 1. So I put that on the helm actually to show that I'm going to do that action. Now all I have to do is use 1 of the die to start with, and then I can re-roll the rest. So I'm going to do the same thing with blue here, and blue wants to go ahead 1 movement as well. And normally we'd be using these little shields here that kind of protect what you're doing from the other players, but there is no other player here. So for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to use that. There also is this treasure token here that is going to be placed on this board down here. That's really the goal. We're trying to get to this treasure. And you can play several variants of this. You can play get to the treasure and get back, or you can just play get to the treasure. Get to the treasure is a nice length game. It's a quick filler. Gives you kind of a fun, different type of filler game almost. So I got the first one down, and we're going to keep rolling until we get all the die down. So all the players are doing that right now. See, he got really kind of a bad roll this time, Blue did, because he doesn't have an additional movement forward. So he's going to have to do this drift left, which is a different kind of movement where you kind of drift to the one direction or the other. And then he's going to roll again, and he's got to go straight. And on this last one, he goes straight 3. Now our yellow player here is kind of crafty and has this blasting shot thing first, but then he's going to go forward 2. And actually he likes this one too, so he's going to put that out as well. So you can put more than 1 die out if you'd like during a given turn, but you have to do a minimum of 1. And then on the last one, he rolls this rum barrel. Now, there's two kinds of what they call skullduggery in this game. One's a rum barrel, and the other one's an anchor. So there's the rum barrel, and here's the anchor. Now, when you put out an anchor or a rum barrel, there's an arrow. And the arrow essentially means whatever player this is pointing at gets the effect of that. Now, you can point that at yourself, and it gives you kind of a bonus as well. So, I'm going to put this back to where it was. So this is a rum barrel, and he's going to point it at the player over here, blue. And what the rum barrel does is it makes you re-roll a die. So whatever die he has here, the rum barrel, I guess the idea is the guys got so drunk they couldn't figure out what they're doing, so they have to re-roll that last one. The anchor means that you don't get to do that movement. Now, these are both kind of nasty. They're really where this game gets kind of fun. Because if someone has a really great movement planned out and the first thing they have to do is turn left, and you drop an anchor on them or a rum barrel on them, their whole turn is messed up. So let's see how these movements work out. The 75 straight ahead, we go. This says 72 here and 75. We go by the higher number gets to do their movement first. So he's going to move forward, and he shoots his cannons. Now, when you shoot your cannons, they go straight out the sides, and anything that's in the way gets blasted. So it could be stopped by an island, or it could be stopped by the edge of the board, or by another ship. So let's just say this 72 was actually like a 92, and he moved up before the other ship. Well, this would shoot this ship, and see the 6 here? Well, he's lost a hit point. He's now down to 5. So he's been hit. So we keep doing our movements, and let's just say that was his movements, and his movements got him here. Well, at the end of your turn, the ships, after all these die have been resolved, the ships automatically fire out on each side. So he'd get another hit, and this one would get a hit as well. So, I talked about you could use skullduggery on yourself. Well, if this ship, let's say it was the next round, we did the same thing, but this ship, the yellow ship, realizes he's down a hit point. Well, he can put the barrel on himself. Now, what that does is that immediately makes him invulnerable to all skullduggery this round, but it also heals him up 1 hit point. So that's good. Poor 4 here is getting blasted. Now, if you look here, you can see these small symbols that say when you get to 4 hit points, this little box is labeled. Well, he's at 4. Well, what that means is this die becomes inactive. It goes up here, and until he heals above 4 hit points, every turn that he does is going to end on a right turn and a blast because he rolled that round. And if he gets down to 3, then another die would go up. Down to 2, he's really going to be having problems then. His ship's basically coasting on autopilot, and he's got a lot of problems there. And, I mean, down to 1, he's really in trouble. But what you can do when you get into a situation like that is forego your turn. And if you survive after you forego your turn, then you get to heal 3 points back up. So he would go back up to 5 if he survived from 2 if he had made it that turn. However, you do announce that you're going to forego your turn and that you're going to try and heal. So at that point, if there's a player out there with 2, he's a setting duck. And all the other players are going to come circle around and blast that guy and try and sink him. If you sink, it's not the end of the world. You sink, you just turn it back. Your best ship has been sunk. Your best ship had 6 hit points on it. Your second best ship starts on the tile back at 5. So you start back 1 tile. So you could be clear over here, but you need to start back 1 tile back as your handicap for getting sunk. But you start off with 5 hit points, and that's the maximum that your second best ship can have. If you get sunk with your second best ship, it goes down to 4, 3, 2. And if you get that low, you're not a very good player. So that's the gameplay in a nutshell. I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to teach you the game, but just kind of get you a feel for it. You navigate your way to the treasure using these die. It really is a lot of fun. I like this game better than some other pre-programmed planning and movement games because I feel like it's quick. You don't have a lot of decision making to make. So at the worst case scenario, I roll my die with 5 things. I've only got 5 choices to make. So which one's the best one for me? Well, I can quickly go through that and say, well, right turn, no. Go straight, maybe. Go straight and shoot a cannon, maybe. Go backwards, no. Right, yeah, maybe. So you figure out which ones you want to use pretty quickly. Now, one other thing I should mention too, before wrapping up the gameplay segment here, is these anchor rows. That's when you would put something down, put something in the anchor row. That means you're not going to actually do that action. So if we put this in the anchor row, we wouldn't do that first straight move forward. We would forego that action, and skip right over to the second one on the second round on the second bell. So this is useful because, you know, if someone's anticipating your move, that you're going to go up one and he wants to go up one and shoot you, well, if you forego that first move, then basically you don't have to get shot. The other thing too is if you have an absolutely miserable roll, so you're getting near the treasure and you get all U-turns and backwards turns, you could always forego one of your bells and just put a die on the anchor that time. So it's not really that complex of a game. It's a pretty fun little game, and they've been running really good sales on it lately, different places. So that's essentially the gameplay though in a nutshell. Let's hear what Luke and I had to say about it. Okay. All right, that's how you play the game. Are you still sulking about not getting a tattoo? All right. Well, I guess I'll do my reviews first. We do the reviews in 4 parts. The first one we look at is the artwork and theme, just how that presents itself. Then we look at the fun factor. Then we look at the family factor, if this is good for families or not. And then we finally give it an overall rating. Now, the way how our scale works has been 5 is an average game. It's pretty okay. And I know some people do 5 as a pretty bad game. But a 6 is something that we could suggest maybe to play or borrow before you like it. A 7 is something we would suggest buying. An 8 is really good. A 9 is an amazing game, and 10 is a must-have. At least that's how Luke's done his scale. So, will you stop sulking and tell me the review? You're not getting a tattoo. Okay.
Fine.
You can get a tattoo, but don't tell your mom.
Yes.
And if she sees it, I'm going to tell her that you snuck out and did it on your own. Anyway, okay, the fun factor is he's not really getting a tattoo. You're not really getting a tattoo.
Take it.
Not yet. The fun factor, what do you think on the fun factor? Out of 1 to 10, how fun is this game? I'm mixing it up on you.
Probably a 6.
And why?
Because it's a pretty good game. Like, you just have to keep your head in the game, and then it gets really boring.
Or else it gets really boring if you don't
Yeah.
keep your head in the game. Aren't all games that way? We're getting over colds. That's why. What about art and theme? What do you think about that? Art and theme.
Probably an 8, because if it weren't a pirate game, it would probably be a 9, but because I'm not that big of a fan on the pirate game, but
So you really like the art, but you don't like pirates that much.
no.
So it gets an 8. 7 for the theme, 9 for the art, averages out to 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about family factor? What age kid could figure out this game? A kid who's played some games.
9-year-old probably.
It's pretty complex, huh?
Well,
Really?
a 9-year-old, I said, like 9 and up.
Yeah. So like it's the same complexity as like Belfort or
Yeah.
Kings of Air and Steam. So it's pretty complex.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay.
Well, no. I mean, I don't know. I just think 9's pretty average considering how many years we take down.
Okay. And the family factor, it does have like cannonball shooting and pirates in it,
Yeah.
but it's just fun. It's not like nasty or anything. It's just kind of a gotcha kind of thing.
Unless they come out with an expansion that makes the look more violent, then that would just be horrible.
Yeah. Okay, for my ratings before we get to Luke's overall, I'm going to say the fun factor on this is probably a 6.5 or 7. It's a pretty fun game, and 6.5, 7 is not a bad rating. It's a good rating. It's a fun game. I might even go as high as 7.5 because of what it is. It's a nice little just filler type game. I mean, if you get tired of King of Tokyo, this can kind of do the same thing, you know? As far as the art and theme goes, the art's really good. The tiles have really great art on them. And then, like, I know that another reviewer didn't like the dice that much, but I think they're really cool. I like the wooden chunky dice that, like, feel like something a pirate would use back in the olden days. As far as the art and theme goes, Pirates, man, you can't beat it. I love Pirates. And the wooden cubes and everything, I'm going to say it's like a 8 on theme and art. It's really good. Family factor, this is where I'm going to give this thing a really high mark. I think Luke thinks a 9-year-old would need to learn this game. It's basically, I mean, it's Farkle with like some program movement in it. I think this is something I think a 7-year-old could play. 6 even maybe, some with a little help. So I think it's something that a younger kid could definitely get into and play. It's a lot of fun, and it's got that kind of like, you don't have to have a real complex strategy. You can kind of just luck into some fun on this sometimes, and also it's kind of fun to spoil other people's routes and things. So as far as the family factor goes, it's pretty high. It's got that whole gotcha, like, family rivalry thing. Man, you are coughing a lot.
Yeah, right when the video starts.
Absolutely. So as far as the fun factor goes, family factor goes, I'm going to give it a pretty high rating there. Now, Luke, what's your overall in this game?
Probably a 7.
7. So you'd say someone, it's a good game, go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'd play it probably maybe once a week or so.
It's a good rating. I'd give it about a 7.5 or an 8. I think it's definitely something that should be looked into. It was on really good sale. Really inexpensive. About, I don't know, a month ago. And if you can find a copy fairly inexpensively, which I think you can, it's a bargain. The thing that's really cool about this game is it's pretty light, but it's not totally light. And I mean, and by that I mean like the mechanic's super simple to get. Roll die, pick some out, roll some more. But there's a lot of thought that can go into your program movements and strategies. And the other thing too is I think some people like the whole idea of Robo Rally, the program movement games. But man, you are a sick child. You need to get to bed, don't you? You are not getting a tattoo tonight. Anyway, as far as the overall fun factor and everything overall, I'm gonna say this game gets like an 8 from me because it's pretty solid, and it fills the need of the program movement games that are heavier than this in a much lighter package, quicker package. And as a matter of fact, this game started off as it was called Robo Rally Express at one time, and then it got rethemed and repackaged. They tweaked it a little bit, but the same idea of Robo Rally with dice. I mean, if you're a huge Robo Rally fan, you may not like this game because it's not Robo Rally, but I think it's a good game. 8 out of 10. All right, so let's get you some cough medicine and get you to bed. This is our special head cold edition of this show. So anyway, thanks for watching. Luke's ready to get to bed immediately, apparently. Oh, I guess he's gonna vomit too. Oh, that was disgusting.
I did not mean to do that stat thing.
All right, so that's gonna be edited out. All right, so come back up here and set so you can get a new ending. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Enjoy your day or whatever this is that you're doing right now. All right, talk to you later. We're a little giggly because Snot Rockets happened. All right, see ya.
Blowing raspberry.